Okay, here goes another fun one with Modern Lantern Control. So this is a game I just got done playing, and first game was pretty close. Second game, well, you'll see. Anyway, I will go ahead and bring up the game here in just a second, but you can see I've now added in my list over here of the cards that I'm currently playing. It's a little different. I now have a Noxious Revival. God, I can't pronounce that word at all. But anyway, I now have that one in the main board. Changed up my mana base, added in a Darkslick Shores to add an additional blue mana for help casting Tezzeret. So we got that in there. And of course, now I've split Ghoul Colors and the Pixis 2 and 2 in the main board. For the sideboard, the big change there is I moved the Crucible of the Worlds to the sideboard, and and I now have a Golgari Charm as well, and that seems to, and Quiet Disrepair, which is another fun card that is really great against burn. So that's the big changes that I've done so far. Otherwise, pretty much the same. The only big difference is for what I play in person versus online is I have more surgical extractions in person. They're just super expensive online, and I just don't feel like paying an extra 60 or 80 bucks to complete my play set. So we'll work it around it. It's been pretty good so far. There are some times, of course, where I'm like, oh yeah, that would have been great to have a surgical extraction, but I didn't. But hey, life happens. But anyway, let's go to the game. So this is a game I just finished playing. Let me enlarge this. So this was a game that was very good. Right away I knew I was playing something mono black, and from my days as being a 8-rack player, I kind of guessed right away with the smallpox what I was going to play against. So there's the first Shrieking Deflection. So right away I know I'm going to have to make sure that I've got some cards in hand. You see the second rack comes down, the actual rack comes down. And you can see I'm kind of playing just to keep some cards in my hand. I know to keep lands in my hand. I'm not so worried about Ensnaring Bridge coming down, because the only creatures that I played when I did this, and most of the builds that I've seen, is the Mutavault. Sometimes you'll see Bob, Dark Confidant, come in and play a little bit. Not super popular anymore, especially for budget builds. And this definitely looked like a budget build. From just the cards that I was taking. And wow, is Mtgo not playing nice again? It's not. Unexpected error. Okay. Can we restart it? No. Let me try and restarting it and see if that changes anything. Mtgo is really starting to tick me off, especially for replays. So let's see if we get past where I throw out this Pithing Needle next round. So that damage right there was the first and only damage I took from the rack the whole game. And is Mtgo working? And Mto's not working. Mtgo, you suck. I don't know what the deal is with them and the replays. Anyway, I'll just give a brief recap about what happened. So, and the big thing is for playing 8-rack. Since I am an experienced 8-rack player, Raven's Crime is awesome. Because, it gives you something to do, even casting it from your graveyard, because it's got the retrace effect. So that's something you really have to watch out for. For cards like Inquisition of Kozilek and for Thoughtseize, just keep lands in your hand. They can't touch them. So it's kind of a pointless thing there. Like I said, you don't need to worry about the Ensnaring Bridge, because, again, the only creature they really have is Mutavault. And if they do happen to fire that up, well, get an Inventor's Fair out, or you can Abrupt Decay it once it becomes a creature. But yeah, not worried at all about creature damage against 8-rack. It's not really their main win con. I did throw out this Pithing Needle you can see on for Liliana of the Veil. That's what I always played with, a playset of those. Did not see it at all in this game, so right away I knew it was a budget build, but I knew to name that card anyway. Without Lily, 8-rack budget is really, really rough to win consistently with. But anyway, so that's the main thing, is keep lands in your hand, because they really can't do much. They do have Wrench Mine, which makes you discard 2 cards unless you discard an artifact. So if you want to keep an artifact in hand, I was playing with hands, got up to size like 4 and 5, even 6, because I've Mishra's Bauble, drawing an extra card here and there, and then just not playing anything. I didn't get a lantern until almost the end of the game, but at that point I was milling it 5 at a time, so 3 Shredders and 2 Pixuses. I pretty much knew I had it in hand, the game in hand, so it's pretty easy overall. Game 2, your sideboard plan is just 1 card, Leyline of Sanctity. Once you throw that down, they can't do any damage to you. I mean, they can do the Mutavault, but at that point you can basically dump your hand and just sit behind your Ensnaring Bridge and just shred them out. Because once you have that Leyline of Sanctity out, they can't. You'll see it where it says Shrieking Affliction can do damage to you if you do 1 or fewer cards, so just keep 2 cards, 2 lands in your hand. And at that point, you can not really have to worry about Mutavault, because you've got the Abrupt Decays. I also brought in like Seal of Primordium. I brought in other Nature's Claim, other things that destroy enchantments. So the only one I need to get rid of is Shrieking Affliction, because the rack targets you because they choose an opponent. So once they choose you, they can't do any damage to you. You'll see it does damage to that player, but if you have Hexproof, can't do damage. So sorry. This guy was not super familiar with the deck, or else like I said, it's a budget deck, so it doesn't stand a very good chance. But my main takeaway for playing 8-rack, and that I would grant to y'all, keep lands in hand. That's the biggest thing. They can't touch it with the Inquisition. They can't touch it with the Thoughtseize. So just need to worry about the retracing of the Raven's Crime. But as long as you keep 4 cards in your hand, it's not really an issue. Anyway, pretty simple game overall. Game 1 just went long because I had to mill them out, and I really just didn't get a whole lot of mill going for a while. And it's Game 2, I had the Leyline of Sanctity in hand, my opening hand, dropped it down, and he just scooped it. So that's how I play 8-rack, and being an 8-rack player, Lantern would be extremely difficult, especially without a Lily of the Veil on the board. So anyway, this goes for the video, Modern versus 8-rack. Have a good one.